The Don't Quit podcast is created by typoprints.com. That is TYYPO prints.com. Making dreamers into achievers through motivational art prints. Design the perfect home and office with discount code PODCAST at the checkout on typoprints.com to get 10% off your next print. Now, on to the show.
This is Don't Quit Podcast by Typo Prints. I'm your host, Nick Mann. This week's guest is Nancy Pickard, a certified integrative coach through the Ford Institute for Transformational Training and the Levine Life Coach Academy. Thank you for being here, Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Tell us a bit about your background. How'd you get to the place you are today?
Well, I used to be a personal trainer and I owned a training gym, and I was married for 26 years. I had 2 sons. I raised my boys. Life was just rolling and rocking, and I was really happy. And then my marriage imploded. And, it took me down, totally took me down. I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the tools. I didn't know the strategies. I was the victim in my story, which kept me stuck for a really long time. And fast forward, other events happened in my life, and I finally realized that I needed to hire a life coach. And I hired a shadow life coach, which is what I am. And she helped me uncover the beliefs that were in my subconscious that I wasn't aware of, that was actually keeping me stuck and keeping me playing small and keeping my fears alive of, moving on alone and all of those things that come along with when you find yourself single for the first time after 26 years. So that started me. I had already moved to Colorado from New Jersey, and I was not working. I was just playing and over exercising and really not sharing my gifts, utilizing my own natural talents and my knowledge. And I realized that I had more to give than I was giving. And that propelled me also to not only get a coach, but then become a coach. And I have a growth mindset. So I've been one certification after another, getting more and more tools in my toolbox so I can help more and more people. And then when I was turning 60, I thought, oh my God, that's such an ugly number. And I had to do something to prove to myself that I still had it going on. And I was, still a viable human being. And I also wanted to do something to mark whatever my fears were about being alone or traveling alone. What couldn't do. And so I trained and went and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And that was like a really big transformational moment for me.
Wow.
I highly recommend it to everybody. And then from there, I wrote a book so that I could help people with what's your Kilimanjaro. You don't have to go climb 19,000 feet, but what do you want to do? What is holding you back? And what's that thing that when you think about, gee, I wish I could do this, or if I was richer, I would do this. If I was younger, I would do this. If I was healthier, I would do this. Like, what is the thing you think you want to do that you're not doing? And that's your Kilimanjaro. And then how can I help you get there?
Wow. That's a great persevering story and a great accomplishment, man. You are definitely a powerful person, Nancy. And this, I feel like you need to be that way, because that's how we are helping other people, because you are proving that it is possible, that you can overcome this and that you can find your path and you can do it, by yourself, but also in the way that you can build healthy relationships with other people.
Sure. I mean, yes, I'm in a relationship for the last 5 years. But now I don't need it. I want it. It's different. There's not this insecurity from within.
Yeah, you're
that
not
I didn't
dependent on it.
Yeah, exactly. Which makes you show up as a much more equal partner,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
you know for yourself that you have it, That's the
and
difference.
we all do. We all do
Yeah.
have it within ourselves. Yes, I know when we're trying to find like the perfect partner, or feel like we got to find the perfect career, and it feels like there's a lot of different possibilities. And so, and a big issue a lot of people have is because there's so many possibilities or so many ways they go about their life, they feel overwhelmed and it gets shut down. I'm just wondering, what are some of the key steps you would help a person who has dealing with those kind of feelings?
Of overwhelm,
Yeah, overwhelmness.
stuckness.
Hmm.
So when somebody comes to me, I help them uncover their shadow beliefs. And the shadow beliefs are the beliefs that are formed in the first 10 years of life. There is an emotional event that happens. You're not mature enough to understand. It could be as simple as your mom picks you up 15 minutes late, or you're the fifth member in a family and you believe your voice doesn't matter, your needs don't matter, or you stand up in school and you say a word wrong and people laugh at you. And you subconsciously make this decision that you're stupid and you need to be quiet so nobody will know. And so as a child, all of these are formed to keep you safe. But as an adult, they actually keep you small. So if you've got the belief that I need to be quiet so nobody will know I'm stupid, you could end up in corporate America and never share your ideas, never speak up in a meeting, and then get passed by from job to job to job because they don't even think you have a brain in that head, right? You never share your ideas. So even though it kept you safe as a child, now it keeps you small. I had the belief that I wasn't safe alone because when I was 5 years old, I was playing with the lighter and I put my whole body on fire. So for a 5-year-old who did that, it makes sense that I didn't feel safe alone.
Mm-hmm.
As an adult who just got divorced and who really had it all going on, I was brokenhearted. I loved my husband, but I was 40 some odd years old. I was financially secure. I had already raised my children. I was healthy. I could basically do anything, but all I really could do was wallow in my sadness because that inner child still didn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I uncovered her. So to answer your question, there's a few things that I suggest people do. The first thing is try to figure out what those beliefs are. If you can't do it on your own, I do have exercises in my book that would help you. My book is Bigger, Better, Braver: Conquer Your Fears, Embrace Your Courage, and Transform Your Life. That's number one. You could read my book. You could get a coach. But if you're trying to move forward without uncovering those beliefs, then you got to chunk it down to really bite-size, actionable steps, little by little by little, because what you really want to do is train yourself that what you tell yourself you're going to do, you're going to follow through with. Because honestly, what we really train ourselves with is we don't have to follow through. We can make promise after promise after promise to ourselves. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to meditate every day. I'm going to exercise every day. I'm not going to make those phone calls, whatever it is. And then we forget about it. We don't follow through. We don't remember even half the time that we made those commitments to ourselves. When you haven't learned to stay in alignment with what you tell yourself you're going to do, you really don't have self-love and self-confidence and also if you don't trust your word, why would anybody else? Yeah. So it's very disempowering. So if there's something that you want to do, and then the next part is to know that nobody ever is in a fearless state. Nobody. Mm-hmm. It's not, successful people aren't fearless people. They're people that move forward even though they were afraid. And they moved forward even though they failed over and over and over again. They'd pick themselves up. They'd use every single failure as a chance to reevaluate, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? How can I make that difference? I don't like this feeling, so what can I do to change it? And also sometimes rejection is just protection. It wasn't your time. It wasn't your time. It wasn't your person. Something better is coming down the pike, or you just didn't know as much as you needed to know. And this is the evidence. And so now go out and do your work and get to that next place So maybe next time you'll be successful.
Yes, absolutely. I really love that answer. And it really breaks it down to in a way that anyone can work towards that.
Mm. I was listening to one of your podcasts earlier today when the woman said that the thing that people say all the time about, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
And it's the same, that's the concept,
Mm-hmm.
you got to chunk it down and you have to move forward with your fear anyway. You've got to use fear as a motivating force for change.
You do. I think, I know fear is just one of those things, like it helps us, but also hurts us. Like I definitely know how it feels like, because I'm a naturally reserved person. So when I'm not engaged into like a meeting, just because I'm not speaking doesn't mean I'm not interested. I feel like a lot of people get that that sense from my actions, even though I'm listening and I'm observing. And a lot of people don't feel like that is an active motive.
Right.
Yeah, and that's definitely like was a struggle for me when I entered the workforce because of that issue. And it feels like, and then like it kind of feels difficult to move forward with that, just because it comes naturally to me, and I like to always process the information before speaking out.
And there are a lot of people that are like you, that they don't answer right away. They need to think about their answer, and that's okay, but it's a different style from other people. And it probably is harder in business if you don't share what's on your mind and you don't share, you're not more engaged. They may get the wrong idea, but over time, when you do finally speak up, if you're saying something that's valuable, they'll be like, oh yeah, he's quiet, but he comes, he does come around to it.
Yeah, I feel like all these different styles and changes that a lot of people have naturally, and then once we come to learn about what is the strengths of it all, do people have a better like work culture and whatnot, and I think even just better environments and boundaries with each other too. So I know you specialize a lot of boundaries, and I always like to kind of just dive more into that, because that's a topic I haven't really talked about so much on this show. Is
Boundaries.
how to set healthy boundaries with one another, both like in our personal lives and in the workplace.
It's an interesting conversation. It's like an in conversation these days. And basically, boundaries are what you will and will not tolerate in yourself and what you will and will not tolerate with other people. And again, it goes back to those disempowering beliefs. So if you have a belief that your voice doesn't matter or your needs don't matter, or you have to be perfect to be loved, or you have to please everyone to be loved or to be safe, all of those beliefs make it hard to set healthy boundaries. Because if you're a people pleaser or a conflict avoider or an overdoer, you do all those things because your child part of you thinks that's what you need to do to be safe and loved. And as an adult, you have to realize that your worthiness comes from just existing. You're worthy because you breathe and you're on this earth, and you don't have to people please. And you don't have to make everybody else's needs more important than your own. So that's step number one, is figure out which of those beliefs are yours and get rid of them because they don't support you. And then recognize that people are not mind readers. If you don't state what your needs are, nobody knows them. And the concept of, well, if he loved me, he would know, that's not true. People are fighting with what their own needs are. They can't be worried about what your needs are. And especially if you don't make your needs a priority. Yeah. So boundaries are about figuring out what you need, what you will and will not tolerate anymore in yourself. So, you may start simple with setting boundaries for yourself. I'm going to turn off my phone at 9 o'clock every night. I'm going to be asleep by 9:30 or 10 o'clock every night. Or I'm going to stop drinking alcohol, or I'm going to put some self-care, healthy habits into my day. Whatever those boundaries are for you. I'm not going to become a people pleaser. I'm not going to say yes when I want to say hell no. You should only say yes when it's a pure yes. Anything else is saying yes to somebody else and no to you. So learn that no is a complete sentence. You can very nicely say to somebody, I'm not saying no to you, but I am saying no to this event, or I am saying no to this work, or I am saying no to being able to lend you money or do any of the things that I used to do. I'm no longer available for that. And the other thing is that your truth, somebody else's reaction to your truth, is not your responsibility. You state your truth, and how they respond is their responsibility. And what happens with setting healthy boundaries is that people fear, oh my God, he's going to be mad at me. He's going to leave me. She's not going to love me anymore. My kids won't come visit me as much. But that's actually not true. People who love you or work with you, they want you to be happy. So you can't expect them to know your boundaries unless you share them. And once you do share them, and you do it with grace and ease, and I have like a little boundary script that I use that I can share with you in a moment. It's from Nancy Levin. I'm a Levin Life Coach Academy coach as well, and this is boundary work is hers. And she uses this a script. I feel X when you do Y. Would you be willing to do Z? So you've taken it off the other person and you've put it on yourself because you've made it about a feeling. It doesn't necessarily mean the other person is wrong, but this is how you feel. I feel angry. I feel confused. I feel sad. I feel disrespected. I feel scared. Any of those. When you do X, would you be willing to do Y? And then if they don't, you have to follow through, because only you can cross your boundaries. They can't cross them. They may not adhere to them, but you're the one that set the boundary. So in order to honor and respect myself, the next time it happens, this is what I'm going to do. I feel scared when you raise your voice when we're having an argument or a discussion. Would you be willing to not raise your voice? They say yes, but then they raise their voice anyway. And then you say, in order to honor and respect myself, I'm going to leave the room. I'm going to hang up the phone. We're going to, park this conversation till a time when you can talk to me without being angry. And then you do that. And then every single time they raise their voice, you immediately do that. That's you upholding your boundary until they actually learn that that's the only way they're going to have a conversation with you. And it's scary and people feel guilty until they start setting boundaries. And then they realize, oh, it really does work. And then the way you feel about yourself when you set a boundary is amazing, empowering, because you're sticking up for yourself. You're telling the world and yourself that you are worthy of having needs and having them met.
Yeah, I love that, because that style, it shows it in a self-confidence way, but also in a very nice way of saying how it is affecting you, but also asking if they're willing to change that. So you're not demanding it. You're not,
right. You can't really, right? You can't make somebody as much as you'd like to.
I know, especially in the workplace, as much as we want, as much as it would be so much easier for our lives, we can't expect everyone to bend to our whim at every moment,
Correct.
Yeah, and it does it in a very, I just love it. I love it. It's just it's very straightforward. It's a way that shows that you're in your passion, and I could see that working so well because it's very respectful. It's in a way
Yeah.
that people can understand from your point of view and be like, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from, and realizing that it's not,
Oh, I can do
like
that. Yeah.
it can't be personal and stuff like that. So
Right. I can see that because you're not making it about you. You're not making it about them so much. I mean,
you're
you
not,
sort of are,
yeah.
but in a way, you're really making it about this is my reaction to what
Mhm.
happens when you do that. So, would you be willing to do this?
Yes, I love it. I love it. Oh, that's something that I'm going to be taking note of that myself.
Yeah.
That's very effective. I can see that working
It's
so
very
well.
effective.
I
It's
know.
very effective. And I coach clients in this all the time, and they're so afraid to set that first boundary.
Yeah.
And then, within 3 weeks, they're like, I'm a boundary badass. I'm setting boundaries everywhere, and they feel so proud of themselves.
Yeah, they must feel powerful because now they're actually living the life they want.
Exactly.
Like, it is tiring to always be, someone's whim and need at every moment. It's just like, where do you have time for yourself?
You don't. And then you're exhausted and overwhelmed and very passive aggressive. See, I think people who are overdoers and conflict avoiders, they end up causing conflict because it's like they do and they do and they do and they don't make their needs a priority, and all of a sudden you ask for one thing that shouldn't be a big deal, but it's the thing that puts them over the edge, and out of nowhere they're screaming at you like, why aren't my needs ever being met, and da 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 da, and the person's like looking at you like, I didn't even know you had those needs, you've never said a word. So that's step one. To recognize that you're the only one that's crossing your own boundaries. And number two, if you're feeling guilty or you're feeling exhausted or overwhelmed or angry, those are clear red signals that your boundaries are being crossed somewhere. So if any of your listeners are saying, oh, wow, yeah, I'm angry at work all the time, or I'm angry with my partner, or I'm angry with my kids, or I'm feeling overwhelmed all the time, I got news for you. You've got leaky boundaries and you need to zip those up.
Yeah, I can see an issue people have is they feel like that's being selfish, that they have to be kind to everyone and to feel like they're being appreciated. Like, they feel like it's in their nature. They have to be that way.
That's a great segue, because the reality is selfish and selfless are on the same continuum. And when you are selfless, there's no you disappear. So I'm not advocating that everyone hangs up after this, listening to this podcast and becomes like this selfish human being. But what I'm saying is that you need to balance the two. There is a time to be selfish and there is a time to be selfless. And neither one, all of the time, is the right answer. Somewhere in between is the right answer. There's a healthy dose of selfishness that everybody needs to have. And those that think that they need to be selfless, those are the people that get sick and are overwhelmed and are passive aggressive and have nothing left for themselves or others.
Very powerful. I really enjoyed that. Wow. I know. And like my last question to always, not the last question, but definitely the question that I really want to put a stamp on this is for those people who are dealing with those boundaries, how they can live their life to the fullest.
People who have leaky boundaries,
Yes.
they actually have to sit down with themselves and ask themselves, what do I need and what do I want? And what will I no longer tolerate in myself or others? And make a list of those things, and then start working on who they need to set boundaries with, what the boundary script is going to sound like. Practice it in the mirror, practice it with a friend. And when you give it, do it with grace and ease, because you're going to feel a little short-term discomfort when you do it in the beginning, but otherwise you're going to have long-term discomfort. You're gonna put up with whatever you're putting up with forever, and that's way worse than just getting out of your mouth the little sentence that I just told you.
I love that, Nancy. Yeah, as we're drawing close to this episode, what's the best way to reach out to you and support your service?
So nancypickardlifecoach.com, which will be in your show notes, I'm assuming.
Yep.
I think I sent you a media kit, right? So with all my links and everything. If not, I will make sure I send it to you after this. But I'm on Facebook. I'm on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. And I offer a free discovery call for anybody who's actually interested in coaching. I also do group coaching. I have a free gift of my first chapter of my book is in one of those links. It's also on my podcast, on my website. Basically, everything's on my website. All the different coaching areas that I do, group coaching, my courses that I offer. I have a 20% coupon on a new course that's out there. And that's basically everything.
Yes, all that will be found in the show notes. Yeah, thank you, Nancy, for being here.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Yes, please do support our guests as they are doing some great things and other great things that help others. Until then, you just listen to Don't Quit Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Mann. Thank you for listening.